Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So, as you can see, the Honda Pan European is back in the garage. I had to go up yesterday to Nathan the Postman's workshop and swap the Vosges back and take my Pan European away. I'm over the moon to have it back, and basically it's a cold, dark, wet night in January. Susie's away, so I'm going to spend the night out here in the workshop just doing the electricals on the Pan. Now, you might remember the long-term plan with this bike is to get it ready for touring in the spring and summer. It was a £600 bike. It was a salvage auction Cat-N crash damaged machine that I want to revive and use it for its original purpose. Strangely, and I have this conversation with friends from time to time, the Pan is now becoming my favourite bike. I'm riding the Pan more often than the Gold Star. Now, you could say, well, that's because the Pan's a winter hack, but it's just such a complete bike. It's so good. Right, I'm going to switch the camera around. I'm going to show you the wiring that we've got and then the plan for the new wiring. Okay, right, so let's start at the top of the bike. You've got here Oxford's Intelligent Grips. So these are aftermarket. They look like they're about 10, 15 years old, looking at the controller, but that's a lot newer than the bike. So that is our electrical accessory that we've identified. I don't think anything else on here is aftermarket. So there you've got the tank cover, and popping out just under the tank cover is this pair of wires here, which to me looks like it's not factory. It runs down here. We'll ignore this join, just uncovered that from insulation tape for now, and let's just follow our wires here. So here's the battery. You can see it's quite a sizable 150 amp cranking amps battery, and one of the wires joins to the negative terminal. The other wire, you see there the inline fuse, and that's probably the Oxford, isn't it? Because they would have supplied an inline fuse. That then runs into the back of this fuse box, and I think it's mated to one of the feeds from in here. And I'm guessing, because it's near the top, that somebody has attached it to the tail light line. And why would you do that? The reason you do it is because when you turn the ignition on, you then have a current to the rear light. So that would then make this feed here, coming out of that fuse box, that is your switch live. A very important thing on a bike these days is to have a switch live. So the switch live also is split with these very weird connectors into my Flymo cable. It's an orange cable, I call it the Flymo cable. That then goes up to the top of the bike, and inside there basically you've got a cobbled together USB charger. Another thing the bike had on it, which I've removed, is this. We had a little ring there that was connected to the positive terminal, and that then terminated in this thing here. Very ingenious, and I can't open this with one hand, but basically inside here is a wing nut attached to the end of the cable, and I suspect that was just running, and this was mounted in the back there, so it was like that, and then it ran to here. So I suspect that was so that when the side panel was on, you have access to this, because there's a little window in the panel, a little hole in the panel. And I suspect it's so that you could connect a jump lead to the positive terminal without having to remove the panel. So that's what that cable terminates in. And I just assume that's so somebody can put a cable onto it. But I'm discarding this lot for now. Let's just get rid of that for the time being. Now the plan is to put one of these junction boxes on there. This is from AliExpress. I think it was £9 or so. And it gives you the option to have 4 different electrical accessories. At the end of this, you've got 2 battery terminals, positive and negative, but then you also have this wire here. That's your switched live. So if you can imagine that this will then only activate and become live when the switch live becomes live, if that makes any sense. Right, so we need to test this theory, and I'm going to use this V-Diag tool instrument. Now, it was kindly sent to me about a year ago and I haven't used it, so shame on me really. But anyway, this is the thing itself. And it's an automotive electrical tester. Now, I don't really know how half the functions work. It does relay testing, it does injector testing or whatever. I'm just going to use it in its multimeter mode. So essentially, we just connect it to the battery. Like so. Oh shit. Not a very good test, John. It flashes to life. Now I'm going to choose multimeter. It's got resistor, oscilloscope, component, injector, relay. I don't know what all that does, but I'm going to choose multimeter. Press OK. And now if we put this into here, I've got a little probe on the end of it. It's saying 0 volts. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the ignition on. And then just repeat the test. And I'm going to lift that screen up so you can hopefully see it. And I got 11.2 volts. Right, here's a quick test. I'm using the extension wire just as a little tool for now. But my ignition is currently off. Got my junction box there wired up to the battery. Here's the accessory support cable. Let's just tap those together. Nothing happens. Let's turn the ignition on. And now what should have happened is that this is now the live that's switched on. And if we touch these together, lights flicker on my junction box. That's now live. So I know that this is my live wire. Right, so I've stripped a lot off the bike. I've tried to avoid taking off the main fairing here because that is a lot of work to take that off. So I've just taken off the panel cover and then this little side piece here which allows you a lot of access, and you can see the whole headlight subframe sort of begins here, and there's a structure that goes up behind the dash essentially. Now this is my best place for access, so I was thinking of putting the gadget up here, and it was quite hard to figure out where to put it, to be honest, because if you were to reach it from the battery, say it's connected to the battery, it could go there, but then it's quite close to the carbs and it's quite close to where you fill fuel. And it's going to have a lot of electrical wiring coming out, so something in me just didn't want to put it there. It could have gone here in the rear cubby hole, which on an old bike you get loads of space to put things, and you do on the Pan, so could have gone in there, but then you'd have to have 4 sets of wires potentially running all the way down the bike to where all this stuff is mounted at the front. So what I'm going to do is just put it in there and then extend this wire here, run it all the way to the battery. And you see, I don't know if it'll show you, in there's actually 2 tabs for relays. It's almost the perfect mounting position. And I thought, tucked behind this headlight high up, that's going to be one of the driest places on the bike to have electrical junctions. So hopefully we won't get a fault due to condensation or anything, because it's up here out of the reach of any spray or anything like that. Okay, so I've got some soldering to do. Right, we have a bit of a problem. My wire, which I was going to use to extend the controller there, is, that's the spec, 95 watts. That's the power that this wire can take. Now, Oxford hot grips draw about 4 amps, which is not a big issue because the alternator is the 40 amp alternator, but it says in the spec that about 60 watts, and I'm going to use the AUC screen, and I'm going to charge the phone. So the phone will probably take it to about 65 watts, and then for the screen and setup, we've only got 30 watt headroom. So annoying as it is, I think I'm going to have to go and get some thicker wire, because you can see actually visibly the cable size is actually quite dramatically different. If I just bring that up to the camera so you can see. So yeah, we're gonna have to go to the shop. Right, I've been all around the houses. I've been to a hardware store, electrical store, Screwfix, tool station, and a motorcycle dealership, and I couldn't find any electrical wire. So I'm just going to keep with what's on the bike. I'm going to use the Flymo cable. It is what it is. It's aesthetically not what I wanted, but no one will see it. It'll be under the bike, and it was how I got the bike. So let's keep a little bit of the bike's bodge history in place, shall we? Right, let's get on with it. Is it working? Right, let's do the accessory wire first. So I've added about a meter's worth of wire. Just put those two pieces together, and then I've got the heat shrink all ready to go. Just to slide over the top. It should go on. It's good to test all this before you actually solder. I mean, that's about as neat a fit as you can get. Let's just... Oh. Bloody hell. Soldering iron isn't working. You couldn't make it up today, could you? Soldering iron's not working. So, okay. Let me just try the fuse. Right, well, a total failure. I don't have any wire of the right gauge, and I now don't have a soldering iron, so it must have just got damp over winter and it just isn't working. Plus side though, quite a cool little tool. I only know how to use the multimeter. I learned subsequently that you should use the probe. So what you can do is you can just hook it up to the battery and touch any part and see if it's got current going to it. That's really cool. I like that. The only thing I was confused about though, maybe you can help me with this. When I measured the battery, it was 12.8 volts. When I measured that loom for the rear lighting circuit, it was 11 volts. So I've got a voltage drop across the bike. Is that normal on an old bike or a new bike? I don't know. It's a bit weird that on the switch live we were reading about 11 volts. Alright guys, I'm going to get the parts and we'll have to revisit this in another video. I'll catch you in that one.